Hey everybody, welcome to our show. This is the Hurdy-Burke Internet Broadcast Network, broadcasting from the, Beth, you ready? State of the art studios here in Round Rock, Texas, which is awesome because we have these big glass windows, right, Beth? And we got beverages that our hosts bring in. We've got our producer sitting out here. This is just state of the art studios. But we are broadcast tonight. We want to thank you guys for coming on. Yay. And you know what? I have Beth Golberg sitting here next to me tonight. And Beth, just prove you're here. Say hi.
Hello.
All right. Well, before we get to Beth tonight and start bugging her about being a life coach and getting in, I want to say something. This is one of the guests I was looking forward to the most in the last couple of weeks because you're genuine, and this is just going to be cool. I think your fans, the people that use your services, and the people that hear this when it's over, Beth, are going to come back and listen to the show over and over again. I promise you, because you're going to come up, you're going to tell some great stories for us tonight, and we're going to have fun, right?
We are.
We are good. All right. So before we get to Beth, I have 11 sponsors, and I need to mention a couple here at the top of the hour. I have two new ones I want to dive into right now. I recently was able to connect with U.S. Health Advisors, and they are based, they're Texas based, they're an A-plus rated insurance company. And what Margaret Trukenbod wants you to know is that there are private plans that are not within the Obamacare that people may not know about. And that's all I can say. So here's the deal. We're glad to have U.S. Health Advisors, and I'm going to be posting a link to the website on the custom player. So if you want to go and check out the link to U.S. Health Advisors, I'm going to direct you to my Facebook page. So if you got a pen right now and you're listening, and those that are listening to the archive after this is over, write down Hurdy-Burke, HURDIEBURK Network, Broadcast Network, Hurdy-Burke Broadcast Network. You can find that on the Facebook group page. And then add yourself, and you'll see all the links to all my sponsors there. Now, I got another cool one, Beth. You're going to love this. I have Judy Gibney is a horse trainer, rider, and I have the County Line equestrian out of Hutto, and she is located on County Road 138. That's really Getty School Road. When you go to the tollway, turns into County Road 138. She's got over 40 stalls, beautiful fans for summer, and little vitamin boxes outside the horse pens. They're really wrapped down for the winter, and they're taken care of in the summer. She also has a covered riding area. So let's say it's raining, and and you want to ride the horses. You can go out and ride them and be protected from the weather. And then she has the weather down where she knows exactly what time to put the horses out, bring them in. She's a great boarder, but she also trains horses and people on an obstacle course so that when horses are out riding, they don't get spooked. So she teaches them how to walk through limbs and, fake limbs and over bridges and over wood so that it doesn't spook the horse, which is really good if you're a rider. You don't want to get spooked on a big horse, right? So anyhow, we want to thank those guys. You can find her at www.countyline equestrian. I can never say that word. It doesn't matter. I got it. Equestrian, right? .com. Go check them out. You'll also see a link on our website. We want to thank those two sponsors, and we'll mention some more later. Thanks, guys. All right, Beth, we are here. So I told you that when you came on that this was going to be like kitchen table talk, okay?
Yep.
And Beth came in and said, Hurdy, I'm nervous. And I said, if you weren't, I'd be shocked, right? So
That's
it's
right.
par for the course, okay? So what we usually like to do the first 10 minutes of the show is kind of get to know Beth, okay? That way our listeners and the people that are going to listen the first time get to know Beth. So Beth, my first question is, where are you originally from?
I am from Iowa.
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 What part of Iowa?
I am from Sioux City, Iowa.
Wow. So those people don't know where Sioux City is. It's kind of the north central part of Iowa.
No, it's more the west.
Yeah, because you're toward almost down toward
Omaha.
Omaha,
I mean,
right? It's not that far from Omaha. If you went straight out to the east, you'd bump right into it.
Exactly.
Now, they are notorious for cold winters, and lots of thunderstorms in the spring. And they had a few this year, and corn, and lots of it. Is it just flattering a doornail there, or not really?
No, actually, parts of Iowa have kind of rolling.
Right. Now, did you grow up there?
Yes, I grew up in Iowa.
And when did you leave Iowa?
I graduated from the University of Iowa.
Okay, good
So I'm a
school.
Hawkeye.
All
Very
right.
good school.
Yep.
In 1981 and moved to Lincoln, Nebraska,
Not too far away.
not too far away, for I think about a year and a half, and then moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota
Wow.
for 14 years.
Wow.
Very cold.
Now, why'd you end up, let's see, Lincoln? Was that graduate work, or did you just, because that's a school there, right?
Yeah, but I moved with my boyfriend then,
Okay, so you were
husband
just,
now.
okay, husband now, boyfriend then, and then he ended up in, I guess y'all went to Minneapolis, right?
We went to Minneapolis.
And then how did you get to Texas?
In our car.
I know, but I mean, what
Led
got
us.
you out of, yeah, what led us from the cold tundra of the Twin Cities all the way down to Texas?
The cold
The
tundra.
cold tundra of Minnesota. You got tired of ice fishing? No, I'm kidding. I know you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at people doing that, but
When it's 0 or 20 below, right?
they love it. They love it.
I know they
But
do. It's Minnesota. It's Minnesota.
it's Minnesota, but I
Minnesota
couldn't take
stuff.
the below zero anymore.
No, who couldn't? So straight to Austin?
Straight to Austin.
Wow. And how long have you been here now?
18 years.
Wow. And of course, you got a great husband
Wonderful husband.
and kids
And two kids.
and two kids.
Two wonderful kids.
And how old are they now? See, I'm bugging you with all these questions. We're
Yeah,
getting to
and
know
let's
Beth.
see if I can.
Are they graduated? Are they in college, or are they out of college? Married?
My son is 22 and he's at UT,
Okay, great.
and my daughter is a senior in high school
All
at
right.
McNeil.
Gotcha. All right. So, and you are a life coach, but the next questions for you are favorite color.
Favorite color, turquoise blue.
Turquoise blue. All right. And I'm going to really rattle your brain. Okay. So back in the 80s and 70s, when you listened to music, right? What was one of your favorite bands from our era? Because we're both pretty close to each other. And what bands did you really like?
Well, when I was a kid, it was James Taylor.
Oh yeah, James Taylor's cool.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, that was, middle
He was.
school.
I liked him
was
too. Right. Okay. James Taylor, Led
James
Zeppelin.
Taylor. I was a Beatles, Rolling Stones
Kind of
kind of
Okay,
person.
got it. So the good classic rock, kind of the okay. That's cool. And do you remember the last concert you went
My, that's too soon. That's too close to. Well, I went to ACL, so it
Okay,
was.
that's fair. So you
that's
went to
lots of
Austin
different.
ACL. So
Yeah.
you just went to the
Mhm.
recent one. For those of you who don't know what Austin City Limits supports, that concert here in Austin, ACL, and it's huge. It gets bigger every year. Did you go on the rain day or did you go on the good day?
The rain day.
Oh, you went on the Sunday and
Yeah.
it came.
Well, yeah, we went, but we didn't. We waited till it
Yeah.
didn't rain as much.
Yeah,
But
so it had
yeah,
fun. All right.
it was that weekend though.
So now you feeling better? We got all
Sure.
these questions
Yeah.
out of the way. Now you're smiling a little bit, and we got to know Beth. Okay, so Beth, you're a life coach.
I am.
I want you, before we get into that, do you have a website we can direct people to?
I have a website.
It is.
It is it's long.
That's all right.
It's www.integritycenterfortransformation.com.
Okay, so Integrity Center for Transformation. And just so you guys know, when the show's over and we have the custom player, we'll have a link with Beth's nice, beautiful profile picture up there so you can link and go check out our website. And it's got a lot of cool information on it, but you really want to get to know Beth on a personal level in our coaching. So let's start with, how did you become a life coach?
Well,
Now, you can go back as far as you want, but we only have an hour. So,
Right.
so
Well, once
don't
upon
go
a
back
time.
to one, kind of retrograde back to where it transformed,
Well, I'm also a substance abuse licensed
There we go.
chemical dependency counselor, so I've done that for 33 years.
Okay.
And at one point, I wanted to expand it more than just addiction,
Right.
and decided to go back and did a life coach training program that was about a year and a half long. Thought it was amazing, changed my life.
Because you had to
really
work through all the
I had to do
processes
everything.
too, right?
Exactly.
And
And it really did change my perspective. And so now I incorporate, the life coaching. I still have clients that are, dealing with recovery or
Right.
addiction.
So you got the best of both
But
worlds.
I do.
And so,
Love
because
it.
of all that experience in the substance abuse counseling, and I mean, really, that's where you were trained at.
Hmm.
That is your deal. And then you added this life coach thing, so you're able to really work with individuals on both sides of the fence. Literally, you can be a substance abuse
Counselor.
counselor, really counselor, and you can bring the coaching in. Well, you don't
Yeah.
know very many coaches that you can claim to have the counseling and the coaching, right?
I'm sure there are
There
some
are,
like.
but not in the general coaching realm today. You
Mhm.
don't see too much of that. So that's the best of both worlds. So, how long were you doing the substance abuse, and then um, what did you start seeing with people that made you want to get in? You know what I'm saying, to the
Into
life
the
coach
coaching.
part of it? Because obviously, when somebody gets out of the support group or this counseling, right, there might be some aftercare, or there might be
Hmm.
some coaching with them. So, what got you thinking I need to get this life coach thing part of this too?
Well, I've been a counselor, a substance abuse counselor for 33 years.
Right. Is
It's
that
a
all?
long time.
Gosh, that's such a short period of time. Okay, great.
And have worked in about every realm of treatment possible. And one of the things that I noticed was, people would go to treatment,
Hmm.
they'd work really hard, they'd change their life, they would go to aftercare,
Right.
they would go to a 12-step meetings, they would, work hard in the recovery, and yet many people,
Right.
many people end up relapsing. And all that work and then relapse. And I was thinking, like, what is it? What is it that
Makes them get,
happens
yeah.
that they've done all this work and they get stuck in, in that process? What is it? And that was what kind of led me to, maybe life coaching would be a good, like, because the coaching can take people through action to help them move
And stay on
past
track.
the, stay on track, but also like it's like what's underneath, what are the beliefs that are hindering people that are getting them back to
Right.
their old ways?
Self. Right.
And
That's weird, but we all do it.
we're human.
Right.
So, we have unconscious beliefs that, sometimes dictate how we behave.
Exactly.
And so coaching is like what I help people do is one of the things I help people do is get unstuck.
I hear
And I
that
think
all
that
the time from you. Yeah.
yeah, get unstuck.
Get unstuck.
And addiction I think is about being stuck big time.
Big circle.
Yeah, yeah.
A never-ending circle.
And
Right.
that's what I wanted to like. Okay, how how can I help people to help themselves, or because all the answers are in
Sure.
them to get unstuck.
Keep talking. I gotta plug in my computer, but keep talking. Okay. So I forgot to plug the computer in. So go ahead. Keep
All right.
going.
Well,
Get under here. All right. Yep.
so so
Keep going.
and keep going.
Yep.
Well, I
Keep
mean,
good.
so that was the process, and
Okay.
going through the coaching training program, you know, I was able to learn some tools in addition to my counseling techniques
Right.
to help
Okay.
people recognize, to become aware, to wake up and see what uh, beliefs are dictating their actions, their behaviors, and
And so it's a
resulting consequences.
so and it's a good match because then you found a way to help them or help people wanted to pick up your service right after they got through all this hard work to actually keep that change going and keep looking at
Mhm.
themselves and dive deeper into their unconscious or subconscious, whatever you want to call it, right? That keeps us stuck or old
Right,
belief systems.
right. I mean, I think we operate with belief systems that we don't even realize that we're operating on.
So what would
So,
a typical I want to get in a little bit about your typical kind of person that you talk to, right? We can't get into people, and we can't,
right,
I understand that completely,
confidentiality,
but
right.
yeah, exactly. But what do most people come to you and say, Beth, here's where I'm at. Here's what's going on. What is the most common thing you bump into?
It's
It's
there
not
isn't a common. I mean,
okay.
what I work with, it's pretty eclectic. But some of the things that I work with, I've had a number of clients come in saying with career issues regarding their career. I am in a career I don't like. I'm not sure what it is I want to do, but I know it's not
What I'm
it
doing
what
now,
I'm doing
right?
now. So I may help them to explore and find what their passion,
Yep.
and then help them develop a plan to achieve that. So there's a like a business plan. It's a career
Right.
plan
Right.
for them to be able to become successful.
Yep.
So that's one group of people that I work with.
Okay.
I work with couples. I do couples coaching, and a lot of times they come in as communication issues. So it's helping them, coaching them on how to communicate, how to
Proper ways to say things without getting to World War III.
yeah, and how to listen,
Yeah.
because that's really
What? Listening.
listening is a huge part of
Yeah.
communication, believe it or not.
My problem. I
And we don't
admit. I
learn
admit it. My
that.
problem.
But we don't learn that in
No,
school. In that, elementary school, we don't really learn
no.
how to communicate effectively, how to be assertive, how
It's
to
hard to be a sponge. It's hard just to sit back and be a sponge and not interrupt and get in somebody's face and you know what I'm saying
hmm
and talk back because you're getting defensive if it's being said wrong, right?
right,
And so that you can help them with those steps and word tracks and getting things.
absolutely.
Are there design programs that you've figured out over the years in your coaching that are pretty consistent? You can work with people on. In other words, do you have like homework for these people? Do you have like modules that you work with, or is it just kind of on a we'll see where it goes as we get started, or
When I
both?
started it, when I started, I had a program.
All right.
I went through a training program with Debbie Ford Institute, and I used their modules. I mean, it was pretty structured.
Right.
Since then, so I'll take bits and pieces from that, but I really incorporate my skills from counseling with my coaching and just really develop it more on a case
That
by case
best stuff,
basis.
right? It's
Yeah,
your ways that you figured out that works best, and bring in pieces of everything you've learned, right?
exactly. And it's different strokes for different folks. So
Right.
what might work, what one person I may have is maybe have like a spiritual way, like that their way of really getting it is spiritually based. So I'll use some spiritually based stuff for that person. Another person is very ABC. Let's do a plan. Let's do the actions. Let's do the steps. Very smart. Like the
Yeah, give me
program.
the pragmatic person. So I guess
And then there's
you
everything in between.
right, but I
So
guess because you have all this counseling training and the coaching training, you're able to pretty much listen to how somebody talks and how they act and know what kind of personality type they are, right? Like if
exactly.
they're and I guess there's colors for those, and then I guess there's the ones that are the that are introverts, extroverts. You get all
Mhm.
this different, so you're able to see and know kind of just from experience
Mhm.
what their personality type is. So if you're working with somebody that's an engineer, you know darn well that they're going to be step one, two, three, four, right? Really pragmatic, really
Right.
structured, really
Right.
congruent in what they do. And then you're going to have those that are very incongruent, that are just type A, like Pretty Bird. You go, okay, there is no plan for you, son. There's no plan, but
We'll
we're
just
we're
kind of
going to
go with the
start with
flow.
step
Yeah.
A, and then you're not going to know step B to get step A done. Okay,
But we get there.
okay,
We
right.
get
That's the
there.
point.
So yeah.
So once heard a story, Beth, that uh, for change. Me and you were on a lot. I didn't have your training, but I used to do recovery classes up in Dallas, and I used to lead 12 step, and I was in Al Anon for
Mhm.
somebody in our family that was going through alcoholism, right? And I used to tell people that there's this, you get off the paved road and you start going down this dirt road, right? And at first there's a few houses and there's a couple street lights, right? And then you get further down and the pavement runs out and then it turns to dirt and then there's no more street lights, no more houses. And you think to yourself, do I go all the way to the end of this or should I turn around and come back while the time is good to come turn around and get back? And I used to use that analogy to tell people, do you really want to go all the way to the barricade? You can, but you're
Mhm.
still going to have to come all the way back to the paved road. There's no easy way back,
Mhm.
or we can stop now and start working on this, right? So I just see a lot of knowing what you're with the counseling and with the coaching side, I could see how somebody could make a lot of progress sitting with you over a period of time. So, what is a typical time frame for people? And I know that's a big, broad question. I get that. Okay, but what typically is a time pattern for most people?
And really, it's hard to answer that
You
because
can't.
because
Right.
it's such an individual thing. I've had clients that I've worked with a couple times. That was it. They got clear on what they needed to do. They started to do it, and they felt like, yep, I'm off to the races and running. I have other people that I've worked with once a week for, you
Stay
know,
stuck.
and they may even get unstuck with that, but then there's another issue,
So you
and
may work on 4 years, 5 years, or just maybe an ongoing thing that they've hired you to say, look, I want you to be my coach and just make sure I stay accountable for the rest of my
I
living
mean, I
days,
have clients
right?
I see once every 8 weeks, but I've met with them. I mean, I've known them since I've
Right.
started coaching, which is, I don't know, 6, 7, whatever, many years. So I've seen them go through transitions. I have clients that I worked with, once a week, and then it went to, maybe once a month, and I didn't see them, and then they call me up, and I think I need to, a little bit more, so they'll come back. I mean, and everything in between.
Right.
So people are, it kind of depends what they want to work on, and I listen. I'm a coach, so I'm going to be like singing to the choir, but I think everybody could you use a coach, and it would be a very beneficial thing for everybody. I
I,
mean,
I agree
but
with you. And from a business,
that's me.
no, from a business standpoint, I tell people all the time that if you're in business for yourself, right,
Hmm.
and at some point, if you're serious about growth, if you're serious
Hmm.
about challenging your fears, if you're serious about challenging your procrastination and the next steps and
Hmm.
learning how to lift the lid off yourself, as we say, push the lid off that thing and quit
Hmm.
living in the box, you're going to need a personal coach because you have to have direction. You can't sit back and objectively look at yourself when you start getting fearful, scared,
Hmm.
procrastinating, and you're not going to take the steps, right?
Hmm.
Unless you're a real focused person that knows how to, change your stinking
Hmm.
thinking, as we say, or change the fear. So
Well,
you can deal with those issues with a lot of people, right? Why
right.
why do we fear success? Why do we fear? What keeps us from being motivated? All
Hmm.
those things come into something that
Right.
you can tap into with them, right?
And I kind of use the thing like, Olympian, has a coach, right? I mean,
Tiger
we
Woods
can
had a coach, right?
most so they may have the talent, they may have the skill, but they can move to another level with a coach. To
Okay, that's cool. So we're gonna take a break. Let you take a deep breath. You did really good. That 17, 19 minutes went fast, huh?
Wow.
Yeah. So we still got a lot to cover, and we're there. But I want to mention two more of my sponsors. Jerry's Garage, 1967, family-owned automotive repair shop in Round Rock. Todd Frank is the owner. It's a family-owned business. Um, you can go visit his website, jerry's-garage.com. Todd's company works on just about anything from foreign to domestic. They'll even look at a car you're thinking about buying. If you're going to buy a used car, you can take it to them and they'll look it over and tell you yay or nay or tell you what's wrong with it so you know what the expense is going to be on it before you buy it. So there's all sorts of cool things they do, but just being family owned should say something. When you've been around since 1967, you might be doing some things right, right? So if you live in the Round Rock, Williamson County area, and you're looking for somebody to trust to work on your car, I highly recommend Jerry's Garage. It's jerry's-garage.com. Todd Frank, go check them out. Been around since 1967. And then our buddy, Charles Schiller. Charles Schiller is a home inspector. And as we all know, we live in a very, very dynamic area in Austin, Texas, in that we have 139 people moving to Austin daily. So there's all sorts of houses being sold. People putting them up to sell them because they're making money on them now. And then a lot of buyers are coming to town, a lot of buildings going on. And Charles says, look, I've been protecting home buyers for 20 years. And what he means by that is if you're selling a home, you probably want someone like Charles to come out and look at it before you sell it to make sure if there's any changes that need to be done to get your maximum dollars. And if you're getting ready to buy one, you might want to get a second opinion from a home inspector and not just the report you get from the realtor, because he's really out for your best interest. So go check out roundrockhomeinspector.com, roundrockhomeinspector.com. The link will be on the custom player to Charles Schiller. So we're back, and let me thank these guys because this is really cool. Pretty cool, huh? Best sound effects.
Yes.
We have sound effects. All right, so let's talk about, can I dive in? I know we're going to talk about the human thing a little bit. You read these at a network group meeting, and I was so impressed by them. I wrote about 5 of them down, and I couldn't get through the first one. So, that tells you how deep they are. But I want to talk to you about some basic things. Do you do any kind of coaching or counseling on boundaries? Do you work on boundary issues? Because that's such a huge issue for people.
All the time.
Okay,
I mean,
all the time. Right?
Especially when it comes to relationship coaching.
Yeah, you think?
I mean, everything's a boundary.
Sure it is.
And just like we don't learn how to communicate, I mean, we don't learn that in elementary school. We do learn about boundaries in kindergarten. And then we start to kind of forget them after that. We learn don't touch the person in front of you, stand in line, your stuff is your stuff, and, their stuff is their stuff, don't touch it. But after that, we get a little
mixed up in it.
Yeah,
we think we have the right to be in somebody's space or take over. So I imagine things like you would deal with things like control, the boundaries issues, physical boundaries, and also boundaries with business, how we're going to act in our business, how we're going to do some integrity boundaries, meaning that we're not going to take something if it's making us degrade ourselves to take something. So there's all these kind of boundaries, right? That I'm sure I asked that because I was pretty sure it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Okay, so if you don't understand boundaries or not even think you might have it, that's a good place to start with Beth too, because then she can dive into other things that might be causing those running outside your circle, so to speak.
Right.
So I came up with a new serenity prayer.
And what's that?
Not my horses, not my ranch.
There you go.
Not my circus, not my monkeys. Okay, no. There's times to be supportive to people. All right. So you had these, and I want to ad lib because time's going to fly. So let's pull up those. First of all, let's find the website again.
www.integritycenterfortransformation.com.
Awesome. And we'll have a link to that on the custom player. So, all right. So rules for being human. You read this in a network group 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whatever.
Right.
And I was writing down as fast as I could, but you were going through them fast because you only had 6 minutes, right? And you had to go through them really fast.
Right.
So can we go through those?
Yes. I think I think this is great.
And you love this because this is kind of where your model comes from, right? I mean, this is how you view things, right?
Yes. And I actually got this, and I don't know who the writer is, so I didn't make this up myself.
Yeah, that's fine.
It came from somewhere else, and I got it when I worked in treatment.
Right.
And I just think they're wonderful.
Well, good. Y'all are in for a great treat. If you're listening live, you're going to love this. And those of you who go to the archive later, you're going to love these. So Beth, go ahead.
Okay. So these are rules for being human. Number 1, you will receive a body. You may like it or hate it, but it will be yours for the entire period this time around.
No pun intended.
So it's your body. Do what you want to, but it's your body.
You're stuck.
You're stuck with it.
Okay, cool.
Number 2, you will learn lessons. You are enrolled in a full-time informal school called Life. Each day in the school, you will have the opportunity to learn lessons. You may like the lessons or think them irrelevant and stupid. So that's that one.
And okay, and go ahead.
Number 3, there are no mistakes, only lessons. Growth is a process of trial and error experimentation. The failed experiments are as much a part of the process as the experiment that ultimately works.
Gotcha.
Number 4. Now, number 4 is a really huge one. I mean, they're all big, but this is like starred and circled and whatever.
I get it.
Okay. Number 4, a lesson is repeated until learned.
Don't like that one. But go ahead.
But it's true.
Yes, it is.
A lesson will be presented to you in various forms until you have learned it. You
Right.
can then go on to the next lesson.
So in other words, and we'll come back to that. Go ahead. I want to interrupt the flow, but we'll come back to that. All right.
Number 5, learning lessons does not end. There is no part of life that does not contain its lessons. If you are alive, there are lessons to be learned. Number 6, this is another stars and circle one. This is a big one too. Well, they're all big.
They're all big.
There is no better than here. When your there has become your here, you will simply obtain another there that will look better than here.
We'll come back to that one. Got it. So does that say living in the present real quickly?
Well,
ahead.
it's kind of like the grass is always greener on the other
Okay,
side, so
got
you
it. All
don't
right.
end up living
All right,
really in
got
the
it. We'll come
present.
back to that one. Okay, cool.
Number 7, this is another really good one. Others are merely mirrors of you. You cannot love or hate something about another person unless it reflects to you something you love or hate about yourself.
So train people how to treat you.
It's projection. You know, it would be like, you know, so you look at, and it's really you, but you can't.
And I want to
always
discuss that word, so let's come back to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Projection. Number 8, what you make of your life is up to you. You have all the tools and resources you need. What you do is up to you. So it's up to you to, you know.
Responsibility.
Responsibility.
Out royally on that one. Okay.
Number 9, the answers lie inside of you. All you need to do is look, listen, and trust. We don't always think that
Boy,
the
that's
answers
hard.
are, and
That's hard. We'll come back to
Yeah.
that after you read the last one. I've got a bunch of stuff to talk about on
Okay.
these. Okay.
And finally, 10, you will forget all of this
Yeah.
because you're a human being.
All right.
And that's
So
our humanity.
You're giving yourself permission to forget stuff and be human. All right.
Because that's what it is.
All right. So number 1 kind of rings true, and we kind of live in a very image-based type of society. Looks count, cars count, money counts, and I know that's the external part of who we are, but we've been so grown to seeing the pretty pictures on the Vogues and the athletes, you know, that sometimes people aren't happy with who they are, right? They're stuck inside their skin and they don't like who they are.
Mhm.
Physically, they don't like who they are, right?
Right,
Period.
right.
And that's something that people probably need to work with.
Right. And it could be the external part of, like,
Right,
you
like
know,
I just said, but it could be
mhm.
the physical too,
Yes.
which is I'm not happy with who I am and I never have been, blah blah blah. So that's a huge for you. I would imagine that's a great counseling type of coaching
Mhm.
person for you to tap into your experience with that.
Right, because that could be self-esteem, self-worth. It could be actually body image. It could be health, you know, health and nutrition
Right.
and whatever
Because if
that
you
is.
don't
Like
like
our body is our
You may
castle.
love how you look, but you may hate yourself
Right.
inside, and which is worse, you know. I
Right.
mean, I'd rather love myself inside than not be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
The health, the issue thing, but both important. All right. So what was the second one again?
You will learn lessons.
Oh God. Okay. So what I'm hearing you saying with that is, and I was thinking about that after I left the network group. So you do say stuff that people go home and think about. So you know, okay, it doesn't go on deaf ears. I was thinking about that. I think every day we're presented with obstacles, problems, circumstances of people, circumstances with things,
Mhm.
right? Those two circumstances both drive us crazy. Patience. And I was thinking, wow. So what Beth told me on rule number 2 is that life always has lessons, that you're not going to get up every day and not go through something that's an obstacle, problem, lesson. Could be a good
Mhm.
lesson,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So now, from your perspective, define what that means. I was just telling you what I was thinking about. What do you hear when you read that? What do you think about?
Well, that we're just presented with opportunities in every day, and sometimes we go along with it. We go with the flow of it.
Or we forget all about it.
Or sometimes we resist them.
Okay.
We think they're stupid and irrelevant, and
Yeah,
we have a lot of emotion around that.
counseling's so stupid. You know, coaching's so dumb. Who needs coaching, right? I mean, I bet that's a lot of the mentality that's with people, right? They don't think they need anything. Uh,
Right, and I won't see those
and I
people.
know you won't because they're
Right.
not willing to take a look at themselves and change. But
Mhm.
there's plenty of that out there, right? And you won't ever
Yes.
talk to those people because they won't
The-
they won't communicate with you. All right.
They run away. No.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. Or they just say no
Yeah.
and they're gone. Okay. So number 3.
So number 3 is there's no mistakes, only lessons. And that is a hard one because people think, oh my gosh, I've got to be a perfectionist. I can't make a mistake, and they beat themselves up. But really, the growth is in the failed experiments. That's where we learn the most. That's where our
Mistake.
growth is in the struggle.
Right.
So and in that is what will ultimately work.
Right.
We learn, we adjust, and then we are able to really grow from that. So the fear of a mistake, a lot of us have that. But how many times do our mistakes end up actually being our greatest success?
So here's what I thought about after you said that. So again, I had this first 5 down because I was thinking about those first 5 when you. So I was thinking if you're really congruent at something, you're going to work. It's going to be easy for you to do, or competence, if you want to call it that. Okay, so you'll do that, and you won't be embarrassed to do it in front of people. You won't be embarrassed to because you're so confident at it. But get me into the realm where I'm not very confident or incongruent in behavior or in action, right? Then the tendency is mistakes could be made. And if you're a perfectionist, you will avoid anything that helps keeps you from making mistakes somewhat, right?
And you'll have a really hard time.
I know, but it doesn't mean you make mistakes. It just means that your attitude is, I'm not going to touch anything that may cause me to fail. And if you're not extending yourself, then you're not going to grow. That's what I got at.
That's the challenge,
wow, so I'm not going to grow. I'm going to do that insanity rule. I'm going to sit here and do the same thing over and over again until, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow. So, yeah, okay. So what behaviors, what's the fab? What's the feature advantage? What is that feeling, the attitude and the behavior comes from that?
From the perfectionism you're talking about?
Just from that number 3 with the mistakes. What is the feeling and the attitude and behavior come for somebody that doesn't realize that making mistakes is okay?
Well, I think they end up beating themselves up. There can be a lot of shame that they have. That's where stuckness can come from. Like that, people can, paralysis by analysis, or in their head a lot. That's the piece that really happens there.
Substance abuse, I guess, where you dealt a lot, you probably dealt with that vicious circle in this too, right? They drank, made a mistake, or drugged, made a mistake, but then then they did it again, and they got into a shame-based life. They got into they couldn't change. So there's a lot of depth to that right there.
Absolutely.
But I say it's okay to make mistakes, and I say that if you're not making mistakes, at least in my life, then I'm not pushing myself out there, but then you got to take responsibility for those mistakes too, especially if they affect other people.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. What's the next one?
So the next one is that a lesson will be repeated until learned, and I just think that is so true. That it will be presented to us in various ways until we get it, and then we can go on to the next lesson. But they keep on coming until we can figure it out.
Like a freight train.
And then we go on to the next one until we can figure that out.
Yeah, that's just so fun.
Well, who said it was?
Some lessons are good, okay, but lessons are part of life because again, I see that stage as if you may not like it when you're stuck in that box, right? Because you're trying to fight out of it, and you keep saying, "Darn, okay, darn." How do you? This is a deeper question. So you're in this box and you keep trying to get through this lesson and you keep learning it. You keep getting it fired at you. How do you change your belief system to get out of that? How do you, is that where you can help with that part of it too, to help them learn the lesson? What if they don't understand the lesson?
I mean, well, that's part of what we do is we, dig into that because you can't change anything that you're not aware of, that you don't
Right.
recognize,
There you
and
go.
we all have a blind spot and we don't see that, and a lot of our beliefs are unconscious. So, one of the things I help people to do eh, is to identify what those beliefs are. Like you have to, we have to become aware of them.
Right.
And then once we become aware of them, we have to bust through them. So I love kind of departing from this a little bit, but Byron Katie has you can look her up. Her stuff is called The Work, but I love she asks these 4 questions of people when once you start to kind of look at and recognize what your belief system is. And
Right.
if I can say what these 4 questions are,
Sure. Yeah.
they're really
Go for
great
it.
for people.
If you got them, go for it.
So the first one is, so you have a belief, you have a thought, you have a belief, and you ask yourself, is this thought or belief true? Is this true? Yes or no? And then you go on to the next question,
Right.
which is this thought or belief absolutely true? That means without a doubt.
You
Facts
figured
are
out
facts.
that facts are facts.
So, and a lot of times when people get to there, whatever their belief is, they're like, no, it's not absolutely true.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
Facts are facts. You have to be able to identify it. The third question that she asks us to ask ourselves is, what happens when I believe this thought? So, what happens
Oh
to
wow!
me
If you buy into it.
if you buy into it, which most of us do, right? Until we bust through it, is what happens? How do we feel emotionally? How do we feel physically? How do we feel, spiritually? What what do we do? What's our behaviors when we believe that thought?
Okay.
And then the fourth question, which I absolutely love, is who would I be without this thought?
Ooh,
Who would I be
that's cool.
without this thought? So you've already really recognized that this thought isn't even true. So would I be? How would I show up in the world if I did
If I
not
didn't buy
believe this,
this.
which is a false belief anyway?
Right.
We're believing a lie, we're believing an illusion, and it gets us upset, and it impacts our life. And who would we be? How would we show up? How would we feel? How would we behave if we didn't have this thought?
So
So,
I'm just thinking out loud here to help our radio audience. So Purdy stubs his toe, falls down the stairs, and the first thing he says to himself is, "Man, that was really stupid." So I just said something about myself.
mhm.
So I stop and say, "Hold it. Is that really true that I'm stupid?" Right. I'm just using something
Right,
really
because
basic.
the belief
Right.
would be I'm stupid.
Right. That's what you're
Mhm.
saying out loud. So you
Mhm.
must have that ingrained in you that
Mhm.
that's how you feel about yourself,
Mhm.
right? Then you say, well, is that totally true or is that absolutely true? And then you go, that's not totally true. I'm not stupid all the time, right? I make stupid mistakes occasionally.
Mhm.
And then I guess, what does your life look like if you keep calling yourself stupid? How does it keep you trapped, right? And
Well, you can
so,
say, how do I feel when I believe I'm stupid?
right,
Well, how do I feel? What does that do for me emotionally? What does that do for me?
right.
When you beat yourself up, you feel shame, you feel, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, non motivate, whatever that may
hmm
be, or you don't feel worthy around other people. There's all
exactly
sorts of feelings, right?
right.
But then the fourth one is how would I feel or how would my life be if I could eliminate that thought or that belief from my system? That's pretty cool.
Well, or because it's not even a true belief. So
Right.
who would I be if I didn't have this thought that I'm stupid? Well, gosh, I would feel empowered. I would feel
Good about myself.
free. I would
Free.
have good self-esteem. I mean, those would be the things that
Right.
happen when we disassociate from beliefs that aren't true.
And when I asked you this, I'm just trying to give you examples so the
Hmm.
listeners coming in can kind of get a feel for what those are the four things, but here's how this acts out, right? Because you always like to show people, here's the action that causes, or here's what you may see as
Right.
classic behavior as a result of this act of what you're thinking, right?
Right.
All right. So is it the fifth one?
Sorry, kind of diverted there, didn't we?
No, I like
Um,
that. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna write this down before I leave. So,
okay.
okay.
Awesome. Let's see where we're. Number 5.
Number 5.
Learning lessons does not end. Yeah. If you're alive, get used to it. There's
Right.
lessons.
That's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
You're always going to be in the lesson box.
Yeah.
If you're in growth or not
If
growth,
you're
still
alive,
going to be in the lesson box.
that's right.
Okay.
Exactly. Number 6 is the there is no better than here.
Now, what does that mean?
This is the grass is always greener. So like if so when you're there, so you're looking there,
Right, you're looking there.
has become you're here, you will simply obtain another there that will look better than here. So you're never in the present.
You're never in the present. You're always looking outside of that and thinking, boy, I wished I had that. I wished I was over there. And so you're ruining your now. Your present moment.
You're not living in the now.
No.
You are living.
And that's the only thing you have. I don't know why. I'm the worst at this. When I was going through my recovery stuff, the thing that I learned the worst about myself, and I do it now more than ever. I didn't used to do this as much until I started running my own business, right? I worry all the time. And I keep telling myself, Herdy, worries for tomorrow. Worry is not now. If you do it now, you're gonna take away the opportunity to make something happen in this moment, right? It's really hard to live in the present in today's world. It is. I think it is. We have calendars and smartphones and computers and email, and everything's about what are you going to do for me tomorrow, or what's your schedule like next week, or what are you doing later today, and you're just always running in the now. I think it'd be great to learn how to live really in that now.
Yeah,
that's
a big deal for me.
I've been really dealing with that. I call it authentic journaling. I've been writing a lot about my now. About my now, trying to figure out how to be happy in the now. Because when I'm in the now, Beth, and this is turning into a counseling Herdy session, but when I'm in the now, because I want people to hear what I'm going through. When I'm in the now, I'm worried about outside of the now. Do you understand? The now is never settled. The now is never settled. Right.
Well, but you're not in the now if you're thinking about that.
That's what I'm saying. It's not enjoying the now you're in. It's always worried about, well, when am I going to get rent? When am I going to get the utility bill? Oh, it's due Friday. Oh, I've got to get this sale done. Oh, I got to get this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working on that. I've realized it. Now I'm trying to put the pencil to it and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, okay? And there's a practice. I mean, there's a practice about staying in the now.
Sorry, I got into Beth, but I thought I'd give an
meditation helps.
I'm going through it. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's one way to kind of stay in the now is to meditate, even if it's just
being
for
quiet.
a moment. Where am I? Let me be in touch with my body, my breath. That's a good way to reconnect back into the now.
Yeah, Yvonne always says, Herdy, breathe.
Breathing is good.
There you go.
It's important. Breathing's important.
All right, next.
Number 7, which is others are merely mirrors of you. So that's the one that you can't love or hate something about someone unless it reflects something you love or hate about yourself. And that's projection.
And what is projection?
I mean,
tell
projection.
Our listening audience what that is.
It's number 7, and it is. We project.
He's literal. She's literal.
So we project onto others characteristics or traits that we can't always see in ourselves. So there may be something that we don't really like about ourselves, and this is subconscious or unconscious, but we see it in somebody else as a way of, oh gosh, that person, is dishonest, and it might be that trait and that we don't really like about ourselves, that we can be dishonest.
All right.
And so there's a projection.
So let me ask you this: as a counselor, when you're looking at classic behaviors as a result of something, because I know you can see there's classic patterns to certain things, right? I mean, you can say that person's probably been through this based on their actions, and from the counseling side, not the coach, maybe not.
Yeah.
Okay, but all right. So my point was, I often find out my way of reading people when I'm just listening and being quiet is I've often said if somebody talks about something a lot, they're probably into that. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
mean, if they're always talking about guilt's a bad thing, then they're probably a guilty person. I'm
Mhm.
always that's the projection you're
Mhm.
talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to come up with a way to communicate that.
Yeah.
So you talk about a lot of things you are.
And whether you know it or not,
That
because you
right.
can also say you can also project a positive thing. This person is so creative, and they like that's something that you
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
and you may not see your own
All right, that's
creativity.
true too.
I mean that might be
I
something
agree.
that you project onto somebody else that you don't see
Okay.
in yourself.
All right. I
That's what
get it.
that means. That
Okay.
they're mirrors of us.
Okay.
Um, Number 8 is pretty what you make of your life is up to you. So even though people don't, they have difficulty with this because they think that it's somebody else's fault, that they point, fingers or blame other people for their own situation, their own life story. And really,
The blame game.
we have a responsibility for our lives and what we make. We may have challenges, and yet I think everybody has all the resources and wisdom and wherewithal, you know, to have successful lives. We get in our own way, and
Right.
that's what this is saying. We
And
really,
that's where you can really help people too.
yes, get out of their own
Especially
way.
that one, get out
Yeah,
of their own way, right?
yeah.
And if you believe that it's okay to make mistakes, if you believe that you're human living
Mhm.
in a and you're going to err and you're going to have challenges thrown at you every day, um, depending on how some people were raised in their unconscious or
Mhm.
subconscious, then a lot of those beliefs, behaviors are going to show up in their daily lives. Period. Right. So this whole thing about you always getting up and saying, Beth, what I really like to do is help people get
Unstuck.
unstuck.
Yeah.
You can relate to all 10 of these things
Mhm.
because somewhere in these, I think anybody that's listening to this, that listens to it archive, is going to find out that we're all in this, somewhere in this 10 things, right?
We're human.
Maybe all of
Yeah. Well, that way it's rules for being
them.
human.
Oh, God. Okay, so what? Give me a. I don't want to get too deep, but you always tell great stories about. Well, I mean, you always try to get up in the group. When you were speaking, you ended up telling a story about, what you like, what really makes your heart feel good, and that is when you see somebody that you've been working with break through some of the things they break through, right? That's that you do this because it's you really love doing this.
I love
You
doing this.
you would do this if you didn't make money. I know that about you. I'm not saying that you shouldn't charge it, but I'm saying that a lot of your heart you would help somebody and not worry about that. I believe that.
Hmm.
Not you couldn't do it with everybody, but if somebody really needed it
Right.
and you knew they couldn't, you would take them on. I guarantee it. Now, I'm
Yep.
not saying she's going to take on the whole world. That's up to Beth. But I am saying that you have that kind of heart. You love what you do,
I do.
right?
Yes.
It comes across. I mean, if you guys haven't met Beth, and uh, what is your website again? Well, you have to keep saying that because it's on the live show. So what's the
It's
show? Right. Now, all right. Now we're
integritycenterfortransformation.com.
getting to the end of the show. So what I want to know is what is the best way? How do you get started with a client? Client calls you, says, Beth, do you have some sort of consultation? Do you sit down with them? Do you do an assessment? What do you do?
Yeah. They call and say, I'd like to talk to you. I'm thinking about life coaching. Sometimes I talk to them on the phone and do a little consultation on the phone.
Right.
Sometimes I meet with them and see if it gels and if it really is something that they are interested in
Sure.
doing. And that I don't charge for a consultation to see, to just, to have questions
Sit
answered.
down
And
and ask questions,
yeah,
right? And just talk it out and see if it's something you want to do.
right.
Now, do you
Th-
still do your substance abuse?
I do. I mean,
Okay.
I'm a licensed
So
chemical.
you still work in that arena,
I
right?
still do.
Uh, ongoing training for coaching. What do you've got 33 years experience and I wrote that down on purpose as counseling, right? And
Yes.
so, and you've got all this coaching experience. How does a coach and a person that's always dealing with other people, right, take care of themselves? That's what I've always wanted to ask. I've never asked that before. So what do you do? How do you work through? What do you do from for yourself?
Well, I do a lot. I mean, I do. I take trainings for myself to as a further my career, but it's
Right,
also stuff that really helps me. I've had coaching, um, you know, my own personal
right.
coaching, because I think
It's necessary.
it's
Right,
good thing to
right.
always
So
have.
coaches do coach coaches, just so you know.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And I read a lot of self-help stuff. I meditate. I'm very involved right now in a training program called Somatic Experiencing, and it's a lot of body,
Right.
uh, really being in touch with the body,
Cool.
trauma
Right.
training. But when I keep up to date and do my reading, it really helps me, not just in my
Sure.
profession, but for me personally.
Some
So
of your favorite people in your field? Who have you read and who do you just feel drawn to, that you've read over the years? Do you have
you know,
certain people that you really do just, I love that person?
yeah, I love Pema Chodron. She's Buddhist nun. I love what she writes.
Okay.
Byron Katie, I really like
Yeah,
her
because you
stuff.
mentioned her earlier in the
hmm
show. Okay.
Who else do I read? See, you caught me off guard. I would
Well,
have
no,
to go
that's
back.
no problem. It can be enough. I mean, from a self-help standpoint, do you do rah-rah stuff for yourself? Like, do you read a lot of motivational, or is you more on the other side of that?
I read some motivational. I read more.
The self-help stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And also just things for in my business, like not technical, but Peter Levine is the somatic experiencing,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
great. I
that's
know all about him. Okay.
so.
And then people, I'm gonna say this. How does one balance their physical, mental, and spiritual life? You know what I'm saying? How do the spiritual life, to me, seems like it should be fairly important. You know what I'm saying? To have something out there that you put your faith in that helps you sustain. Now, I know a lot of people are going to yell at me, but I went through an Al-Anon, right? It's the higher power. And I didn't care who the higher power was. It was
Right.
great that I felt relieved working through just their just so steps, or just me steps in the 12 steps, right? Felt empowered to let stuff go, felt empowered to leave people to be responsible for themselves, right? And so I just think that the ability to be able to go through stuff like that helps you grow, right? You just,
Right.
and I guess that's where I was going with that. But
I mean, the 12 step program
it's
is a
awesome,
wonderful program
right?
for any. It's a great life.
But there's lots
Life.
of stuff.
There's yes.
12
I mean,
steps.
12 steps are amazing.
There
There's
is. I mean, if nobody's ever read those, they should read them.
yeah. I mean, it's just
Oh
good
my
for
God.
anybody.
They're
I mean,
good for when you're
right.
not even going through anything. I mean,
Exactly.
oh my God. I remember working through my moral inventory step 4, and I was going, holy crap, this is hard. There's people that I have to apologize to that are dead. Okay, or there's people that I may have to go back and try, and I will tell you something I did learn, and you're gonna love this because you're a counselor. I realized that you don't have to have somebody reconcile with you to forgive them.
Right.
That was a big light
Yeah.
bulb for me. Whoa, they don't have to. They can be stuck in their world. As long as I've done my homework and done my forgiveness work, I don't have to worry about them reconciling with me as long as
Right.
I'm doing my homework, right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's part of the things I would imagine as a coach you help train people with too is, look, you don't have to be responsible for everybody.
No, just
and
yourself.
your actions, just yourself. That's hard.
Yeah.
All right. So
It
what did
is.
I miss? What did I miss tonight? Take
I
a deep
don't
breath.
know. Yeah.
Well, what did you think? Did you have fun?
Yeah, this was
I mean,
fun. I
this
was
was
nervous and I
you just bolt.
went
You're not
right through
nervous.
my.
You're just right into you're right into your world. Well, I will tell you, we have gone an hour.
Well, that was a
We
quick
started.
hour.
It is. We started at 5 till. I want to say, uh, go check out Beth's website. This is going to be on the archive. So I want you guys, if you're listening or if you do listen to this, you can find it on Beth's Facebook page. You'll be able to find the link on my group page on Facebook. It's the Hurdy Burke Broadcast Network, and I'll be sharing this out to a lot of people, Beth. So a lot of people are going to be hearing this, and hopefully they'll get a hold of you. But if
Yeah,
you need a life coach, if you need somebody that's genuine, that really does care about helping you get where you're at, all this is confidential stuff. This is the real
absolutely.
deal. There's anonymity in this and all
Mhm.
those big words, right?
Absolutely.
She's genuine. So thank you.
Thank you.
That was a good
Fun.
time, right?
Yeah.
So, guys, we went a little deep tonight. I love it. And Beth Goldberg, and let's mention your website one more time.
www.integritycenterfortransformation.com.
And I want to thank you guys. I want to thank my sponsors. We didn't get to all of you, but as you well know, you'll be linked on the custom player. All 11 of you will have your own link to your own website, so we'll push that out. We also want to tell you guys we'll be back next Tuesday night with a new guest, a new Austin business from 7 to 8 p.m. So we appreciate you guys joining us tonight. We also appreciate you listening to the archive. And again, thanks to my sponsors, and thanks to Beth.
Thank you.
There you go. And we'll see you guys around the corner next Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. on the Hurdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network. Good night, everybody.
Good night.